All right. Well, here we are getting into the second game of the night soon. This is Team Powerpuff Girls and Team Forge Ice. We should be getting into the draft here in a minute, and these are both very respectable teams. Not quite as good as Cos PvP Shaded, but definitely going to be an entertaining match. Really could go either way. Just discussing a couple things about the draft before we get into this. Soon. So, what would you like to see come out of this game now that we've seen the dominance of the last one as we get into draft?
Well, I mean, I think most games start with just a solid draft. And again, when it comes to single ban, you really have to have a plan for what you're going to go with,
Yeah.
and use that single ban to make sure you're taking away the counter. We see the Glaive and the Catherine come off the board here, which really opens up, and they do pick up the Idris. When you ban that Catherine, you're just begging for an Idris pick.
Yeah.
And we do see a lot of priority coming out of this Finn, which again isn't surprising. They buffed his fortified health, but you have to pick a comp that's going to go with it. So I really want to see a brawler come out on their side, maybe as their last pick in the jungle, but something there where the fortified health is really going to help it. They do pick up the Black Feather, which is good because there is a lot of CC on the board, and his ultimate will get him through all of that CC and can really negate what his team wants to do.
Potentially an Arden, though it does look like Grace is going to be their pick. The Black Feather is very good for being able to be flexed as they pick up Grace. You can put him in the jungle, you can try to force him to poke, or you can put him in dive in the lane and just try to decimate the people on the other team. It's going to be very interesting. See who they pick up with this Grace. Who do you expect to come out?
With the Idris Grace, I would like to see, it depends on which plan they're going with the Idris, but somebody who can dive with the Grace. Kroll is a great pick for that.
Yep, very good into the Black Feather. The only sort of thing is that going to work into the Finn? We saw how sort of faulty it was as they go with the Scarf.
Ooh. Yeah, I really like the draft for the B side here. That Scarf was a great last pickup. Because once your Kroll and your Grace dive in, especially the Grace, she is very immobile. She has her Holy Nova, which keeps her still. The Divine Intervention. Once she hits her target from the Benediction, you just drop a goop underneath her, and that really stops a lot of what she wants to do. And the same with the Kroll. As long as the Black Feather is keeping the Kroll on that goop, and not dancing around too much, so Kroll has a reason to get off. That the goop coming out of the Scarf could be really sneaky for them.
Yes, and it is going to be very interesting, though. Overall, I think you would agree with me when we say both teams have various play styles, and they can both win if they play their comp right. It's very possible that either team could come out top. So we're going to get into this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's true. I think they both have very good win conditions. They both have very well thought out comps. It's just going to be it's going to come down to play style and who executes the best.
Yep, definitely. And we are going to see the Black Feather in lane early. Quite the interesting start, though. I mean, it is sort of advantageous to get the Scarf the extra XP off the first rotation, though it is going to put him a little bit behind when Idris does get to lane. It's going to be a level higher. What is the right rotation to make, you think, in this scenario if you're Powerpuff Girls?
I don't mind them doing the solo backs, but I do think that doing double backs is very advantageous, especially when, if they had rotated Finn to the lane with the Black Feather to help him push that first wave down, that could have worked to their advantage. But you see here that the Idris for Riki got up here and didn't lose any of the CS to the turret or anything. So I think if you're going to leave the Scarf to farm the back by himself, you really need to go to the lane double and help your laner push that into the turret so he loses some CS off.
Yeah, and Silvally is actually taking quite a bit of damage off of this Grace Holy Nova, Divine Intervention, which is going to be very deadly early, and he's definitely going to have to be careful.
Yeah, and one thing
as the Shroud Step comes in, though.
Yeah, one thing to remember, especially with the melee laners, is that they just nerfed the book. So you can see here that's why Civilly is struggling in lane because he's not regenerating as fast as he's probably used to off of that book.
The Scarf is going to rotate up. Potential for the gank. The play company comes out. So does the Quivel, though the Spitfire goes wide. The Goop is going to slow them. Not going to be able to pick something up with that Spitfire missing once again. Key.
Yeah, and they had potential there for that gank, but it was just missed skill shots by that Scarf. The Spitfire landed on nobody, and then the Goop was kind of wasted.
Yeah, Benediction, though, on point lands on all three, and Blackfeather's going to stay alive, though, as Grace falls to Scarf, giving the first blood over. Very, very good for Powerpuff Girls. They're going to have to be very, very careful now.
Yeah, a little over aggression there from the side of Ice Forge, or Forged Ice, I'm sorry.
Yep.
And as I said earlier, once that Grace dives in, she's just a sitting duck for the Scarf, and he was able to hit her.
Quivel is going to land on the Idris, take a little bit of his health away, but nothing. To get more pressure coming out of Powerpuff Girls, though. On point connecting. So far, though. Very good on both teams. Both teams had very good gank potential, but a bit better in managing to take the first blood.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see the gank potential for Powerpuff Girls really come online once that Finn hits level 6 and he can pull and then ambush them with the Spitfire and the Goop so they can't get out of it. Right now, I would say the gank advantage lies with the Kroll.
Right, yep. But it is definitely possible for both teams. And Scarf getting that first blood is really scary because the last thing you want to see is Scarf getting ahead as they just take their
game. And even with that, he's managed to stay ahead in farm of the Kroll. He's up 25 to 18, well 20 now. So he has the kill and he has the CS advantage here. So really swinging in their favor right now.
Yep. Yeah. Idris is going to be in lane though. No 1v3 if he doesn't realize. Though Grace is going to rotate up, give him a little bit extra support. Spitfire goes very wide. In his farm. As Idris does have his divergent perk up, Spitfire lands though. He's definitely going to have to be careful. As Scarf levels up, those Spitfires are going to start to do more and more. Especially when Idris misses the chakram. So pushed up fairly far in lane. The flare comes out to make sure that he does not get ganked by that Kroll. Very, very good positioning by both teams.
Yeah, I think Powerpuff Girls there missed a rotation opportunity when they had the wave pushed up into the turret and the Idris and the Grace.
Oh, Spitfire misses. But Kroll is on the Blackfeather, on point lands, Quibble landing, taking Kroll's health down quite a bit. But if the Spitfire had landed on the Idris, that could have been Scarf picking up a kill on the backside with the Goop. Sadly, it misses, though. They're going to have to back up. Chakram, though, dealing lots of damage to Blackfeather. Scarf has rotated as the Benediction comes out. Blackfeather getting stunned up by the Holy Nova and just bursted down by all three members.
Yeah, questionable rotation there from Zephyrus.
They needed the range support in lane to contest.
Yeah, they did, and I believe they should have known that all three were in the lane.
Taking him low. Scarf is going to get his rotation. Finn, though, has to be careful. Damage to scare him off. Scarf is going to take his backs. So far, though, fairly close. Both teams playing it well.
Yes, and it looks like DJ Slime is going for the breaking point first item, which I think is a little questionable considering you have a Scarf and a Blackfeather on the other side. I think a Tension Bow would definitely help as your first item.
The Poison Shiv as well because of the Serpent's Mask that has already came out. We were talking about how the Sorrow Blade would help delete, but because he is playing much of a supporting role, was a Serpent's Mask the right choice to help sustain?
I do like the Serpent's Mask pickup here. He's gonna need that sustain against the Kroll to stay in the fight, especially with Chakrams coming out.
So the Idris has to back off, has to be really careful. As CP Idris, that is one of the scary things is you don't have that long range, so you do have to be careful into people like Scarf, as Spitfires and on points are just raining down on Forge. Another Spitfire, and that's gonna force the Fountain. Better safe than sorry, I guess. And now Powerpuff Girls is going to look to push this in, though. Scarf, he gets hit with the From Hell's Heart and is going to get bursted down. Kroll able to pick it up, though. Idris, Shimmer Strike to barely stay alive. The Faint's Heart comes on, but Kroll is now on the Blackfeather is not going to pick it up. Rose offensive away. Full
It
health.
civilly manages to escape that fight, even though the Quibble was target from I'm Just a Prill.
Yeah.
And I think that was partly in due to civilly trying to just run away too quickly. He could have hesitated there in front of the Finn and let that Quibble land, which might have helped him get out of there.
Yeah, the communication is really key as Crow picks up a little bit of jungle farm. So far, though, gold lead, which is very close considering the past games we've been seeing.
Yes, this game is much more of a contest than the past ones we've been seeing.
Careful does Blackfeather have to be versus Idris? Can he really abuse him, or is he gonna get traded out and have to be really careful if he's not with his support like he is right now?
I think that he does have the Serpent's Mask, so he has some sustain, and the Chakram has been nerfed, so he's not going to get chunked down quite as much. But you do see that we have the Shatter Glass coming out on this Idris, unlike the last time where we saw the Frostburn come out. So I do think he's better off making sure or playing it safe while Finn is not up in that lane.
Scarf dealing a little bit of damage has done a very good job of zoning out the carries, landing yet another Spitfire on the turret. Just free damage, though. He does get hit with the Chakram, takes nearly half his health away, and Idris is back to full health. They have to be careful here. Really gets caught out. Benediction and Chakram landing, taking Blackfeather very low, right next to the Cruel. The Cruel gets on him, but chooses to back away. The pull comes out barely short. Very interesting to play. I would have liked to see that Cruel go in. Was that worth it by him, you think?
I think the Cruel, especially with the Grace, and Grace has her ult up now also, I think he could have continued to go forward into that.
Yeah, and it puts them in a rough situation where they don't have the range to contest his Scarf as he gets damage on turret. The From Hell's Heart is going to be key. Finn, if he can body block, that is going to be huge. The Quibble landing, dealing a little bit extra damage to Idris. Crow just sitting in the bush. Neither being able to really do anything to the other team as they just continue to farm up. Scarf's rotation is up though, and once again, Scarf has rotated too, so bit of a stalemate right now.
We do, and I think that the Powerpuff Girls are missing some rotation opportunities. They keep pushing the lane all the way to the turret and gaining the lane advantage, but then they just turn around and walk right back and give the lane advantage back. Where they could be rotating down through Forged Ice's mustache bush and cutting off the Grace and the Idris from that troll.
The Dead Man's Rush, but Blackfeather just going to Rose offensive away. Very safe. Very well played. Idris is not in lane. If Powerpuff Girls manages to push this in, this could be very beneficial, potentially even a turret. Now they know it. They are going to push it in. He needs is a Goop and a Spitfire. But Grace, body blocking the Spitfire, is going to keep the turret alive.
Yeah, and there again, we just see there seems to be some hesitation coming out of them. I mean, you have Scarf, who is the turret killer. But it's like it's
pushing the advantage.
As soon as Civilly cleared his wave, he just turned around and walked away. And Scarf made a half-hearted attempt to take
Idris getting some damage on turret though, with the Chakram doing lots of damage. Oof. Almost completely even in turret damage right now. Though both teams are grouped up in lane. Which team has the lane advantage, you would say? Because Idris does have the Chakram, but then you have Scarf on the other hand and Finn.
Yeah, I definitely think that Powerpuff Girls have the lane advantage, but they're not using it. They're just giving the advantage right back every time they get a hold of that advantage.
Spitfires and on points landing. Once again, Cruel diving in for a little bit of poke. The pull comes out though, lands. The Quibble does get blocked. Idris extremely weak, gets executed, but now there's Cruel left alone. He does get healed though. Bit of a wasted heal as there's not much, and it looks like Grace is going to get killed by the Scarf landing a Spitfire. Now Cruel, left in a 1v3, has to be very careful. There's a lot of damage. He does get stunned. It does look like Turret's going to go down instead, though.
Yeah, he's just going to have to give up that turret. And now they should rotate on the gold mine here. They play this correctly. They finally pushing their advantage. But I think, again, that was a mistake from DJ Slime, where he runs in and taps them and turns around and runs away. He doesn't have the tension bow, so he's not doing serious damage with that first attack. And
he's going for the sustain, but he's getting hurt so badly by the Scarf and Blackfeather. It's not really worth it.
Yeah, and a questionable call here by Powerpuff Girls to not take their advantage and capture that gold mine.
Idris is going to pick up the turret, though. So much damage. I don't think they really predicted it. On point land, so does Benediction. They're just going to back off, and they just got a free turret.
Yeah,
I
they
would
got
call
a
that a
free
misplay,
turret.
but
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a complete. I mean, if even if you give up the turret, if you had taken that gold mine, that's still a two.
yeah,
It's actually like a
yeah,
600K swing in favor of your team. But they got the 2 kills, and Kroll had to retreat, and they just ignored their advantage on.
yeah. They definitely needed to the team more. Finn being a little late on the rotation, though. We are going to see Powerpuff Girls sit in the mustache bush, potentially waiting for an opportunity as Idris or Grace rotates up. Cruel with them. Chakram comes out from Hell's Heart, lands on the Black Feather. The Goop, though, just zoning them out. The pull comes in. Blocked. Scarfall is melting the Idris. Everybody's on the Idris, though. The heal comes out, keeps him alive, and now it's Black Feather picking up the Idris. Has to be careful. Cruel, the 1v1 warrior, though, is probably going to be able to clean this up, though the Quibble does land and stun him. Black Feather needs to be careful, landing the on point, using the Rose offensive. Finn now low and just trading back and forth. Cruel picking up the Finn. Breaking point stacks early, so it's going to be able to pursue this, but Black Feather using the on point will most likely be able to get out as he runs back towards his sentry. And overall, very, very good play from Forge Ice.
Yeah,
Managing.
and we finally see DJ Slime play this breaking point Kroll the way he needs to, which is just continue going forward. However, he was given that advantage by I am just a prill. They had the goop and the fire, and Finn just pulled them right through it.
Yeah,
And
it pulled him right past it, and that just allowed the Idris to use his chakram, landed on everybody, and barely stay alive long enough for Cruel to finish off the scarf, and then they were left versus a Cruel, and Blackfeather cannot take Cruel one-on-one. So
right.
they are going to have to be careful.
So I mean, they set up that play exactly where you wanted it, in that choke point, in that corridor of the jungle, and a goop right there to where if Forge Ice wanted to engage, they would have had to walk through that. But Finn gave them the express route through it.
Very true. And we do see a bit of Poke, Sentry doing a little bit of damage as they back off. Though the Crucible does get popped a little early, maybe predicting the pull, but now Finn, I think he realizes it, is going to push in a little, prepared to use it for his team's benefit. Back off, realizing they don't have that item. They are going to have to be very careful as Scarf landing Spitfires is just going to stack up Broken Myth stacks, and that is probably one of the scariest things in the game. Forcing this gold mine?
Yeah, and they are taking the gold mine, which is good. They did push their advantage. They knew that the other team retreated, and this time you see them take advantage of that situation they put them in, unlike the last time where they could have taken a free gold mine.
So now Forge Ice needing to be careful. Out on the Idris to bring him in. The huge goop. Blackfeather onto Idris. Though Cruel is there to help him out. The on point lands. Scarfall comes out. It's melting Idris. Idris is about to go down. Though Scarf does get traded by the Idris, and now it's Cruel once again. The 2v1, and Finn and Blackfeather are extremely low. Blackfeather has to back off, and that could potentially be Kraken going over to the side of Forge Ice. What a turnaround from the early game with Powerpuff Girls having all the pressure.
Yeah, and I think you're starting to see some of those advantages they let get past them show its face here, because they definitely could have had the gold advantage, which would have equated into item advantages. And there's either some missed communication or just some bad decisions in that last fight. Yeah, that last fight, Finn throws the hook down on the Idris, but his team just wasn't in a position to follow up that hook pull. So all he did was give Idris a closer advantage to burst him down.
And the From Hell's Heart does land on the Scarf, though barely protecting the Kraken. It is going to go over 2. But they have to be careful. They are low health after that Kraken. Cruel, very little mana. They're going to back off, and this could be a free Kraken if they don't heal up quickly and go push. Yeah, Kraken already taking lots of damage.
Yeah, this Kraken is already taking lots of damage, and you have a Scarf, so objectives are no problem. And I would be surprised if Forged Ice manages to take this turret.
Yep, they are going to try to push their advantage. Cruel getting his perk up. The pull does get blocked. First one in the game. Very, very good. Caught in the goop. Can't really move. Not much pressure going on the turret, though. Cruel is going to go up, knowing that some of the abilities are down. Finn taking extremely low, has to pop Fountain on himself, though. Blackfeather on the back line, using the Faint of Heart and the On Point to stay alive, though he is now caught out in a 3v1, is going to Rose offensive away from the Kraken. The From Hell's Heart lands. Cruel on him is going to back off as the Kraken gets taken down. Positive gold trade.
Yeah.
Powerpuff Girls, but still fairly good pressure.
It does end up being a positive gold trade for them, but I really don't think they should have lost that turret. They just lost focus.
Yeah.
And and sometimes getting the Kraken can be the worst thing for teams, because teams will try to push, or they will overextend and give you the opportunity to get that ace. But Forged Ice really didn't put themselves in a bad position, and Powerpuff Girls was just trying to force it.
That is questionable, but still doing a very good job. The kills are tied up, though the gold is not. Now both teams have grouped in the jungle, and it seems like Scarf just picking up another infusion. Going to deal lots of damage, so does have to be careful. The Shatter, the Spitfire actually does land, and now they're just diving the Scarf, it seems. But Blackfeather is on the Idris, and Scarf in a 1v1. Is he not going to be able to get him down, though? Low after the Chakram. Though Idris does get traded. Scarf has to be so careful. Get away, though. Not actually auto attack getting anybody, though. Melts the Grace off. She does get picked up, and now it is just Cruel left alive. The turnaround, the Faint of Heart lands, and he can run away using his boots, though the On Point does land, slowing him, and Scarf just deleting Cruel.
Yeah, and they clean it up there, and they managed to take that ace, and now they should get a Crystal Sentry and a turret out of it.
As well as some jungle farm, potentially. So, very good trade for them.
Scarf was the only one infused in that fight, and you did see it pay its dividends. If he hadn't been infused, he probably goes down in that fight.
Yeah, as well as not dealing so much damage. Though Idris is back in lane, going to clear out the minions. Is this winnable for Forge Ice, or are they getting to the point where the Scarf is starting to scale? As you can see, even when getting full dove, he can run away, and the pull can keep him alive.
Yeah, I mean, I do think it's close enough that it's still winnable, and I really, just from these few team fights, it's going to come down to decision making. Both teams have made some questionable decisions and some questionable plays. So if Powerpuff Girls continue to do that, then they could easily give the advantage back, as they have a couple of times.
Coming out of them, the pull comes out, lands on the Idris, though Cruel lands the From Hell's Heart onto the Scarf. Scarf has to be careful. Idris is on top, though, taken extremely low. The heal comes out, barely keeping alive, though. Blackfeather gets the execute off right before the heal pops in. Now it is Cruel and Grace in the 2v3. Cruel getting stunned by the Quibble. The Scarf picks it up, and it looks like it's going to be another triple going over to the Scarf. Scarf doing so much damage. That's going to be Kraken and potentially a choke point turret. What really won them that fight? That was huge play coming out with the pull and the damage.
It was, and I think it was just a little bit of over eagerness from the side of Forged Ice. Cruel still had probably 15 seconds on his boots, where if he just waits for that cooldown, he'd be able to stick on that Scarf. He tried to dive the Scarf early in that team fight, and then just had to turn around and pick a new target, which allowed Scarf to regroup and obviously be the damage dealer that he is.
Yeah, and then Idris also diving and taking lots of damage, getting executed by the BF. The Faint of Heart coming in right before the heal, or maybe slightly after, but dealing so much damage that even with the heal, Idris just getting destroyed. Blackfeather is going to land the On Point, though. Idris is on the Scarf. Okay. And Grace and Cruel are left in the 2v3 yet again, and the Scarfall, they're not going to be able to clean this up, though. Cruel is getting healed, goes back onto the Scarf, questionable. On Point lands, cleans him up. Finn taking the kill, though, and Scarf.
Yeah, and that should be the game here. The timers are just too long.
And in with the Kraken for victory, and very solid play coming out of Team Powerpuff Girls here.
Absolutely. They did manage to clean up some of their play, and were able to turn those last two fights around.
Yep. Very good play coming out of both teams, though. Out on top throughout the game, very, very close. We saw the lead switch back and forth, it seemed like, as both teams managed to pick up kills, and towards the end, it's just one of them pulling off the win.
Yeah, it was both good team fights and bad team fights from both teams. Both making some questionable decisions throughout the match, but also both showing that they were able to execute. Um, I do like that Blackfeather ended up picking up the poison shiv there near the
Yes.
end.
Cool. Yep.
Yeah, into the cruel and into the grace. I think that really helped. And the Idris not having any armor, as you saw
Yeah,
there
that's
in the end, he was just getting deleted by everybody. So.
very, very true. But a question is, would you have liked to see the breaking point come out on the cruel if it was ran again, or would you have liked to see the poison shiv?
I would have liked to see the tension bow come out.
Well, with the tension bow being built at the end, I mean. Would you
I,
really have wanted the breaking point, or was it not? I don't think it was giving enough burst. When he got on the scarf would just reposition, and I don't really know if it worked.
yeah, I do. We did see one fight where he was able to continue going forward, and he built up those breaking point stacks really high, and that's what he needed to do with that build, and he just wasn't able to do it. I think he might have been better off had he prioritized finishing off his journey boots instead of just sitting at the tier 2 boots, because he needed to stick, and he just wasn't sticking.
Yes, I would agree. And Idris making some questionable plays there towards the end, but that is all in the game. It is very hard. So that is going to be game one, going over to Powerpuff Girls over Forge Ice. This is North American Champions League if you're just tuning in, and Vainsocial. Be a sub coming in for Team Powerpuff Girls, so potentially going to throw them off. Going to be interesting to see how this team plays differently now with the scarf, or is getting replaced though, so it is going to be interesting to see if it plays any different.
I believe
Definitely a good
it's
game
their
overall.
black feather that's getting their
Yes,
lane
Black
that's getting
Feather,
the
right?
sub. So
Yep. But we are going to get into the second draft as soon as they add the host and get invited. Good. They are on the way in. We should be getting into the second game very shortly. Overall, a very entertaining game, though. At some points, you could not tell which way it was going to go. Am I right?
oh, you're absolutely right. It was definitely a close game, especially there until the final 2 or 3 team fights where Powerpuff Girls just took it over. But it was definitely back and forth.
Yep.
Both teams doing fairly well at executing their win condition.
Yes. Yep.
But also at the same time, both teams were giving away advantages that they could have taken.
Yep. Is expected. Both teams could definitely played a bit better, and who knows what would have happened. But we are going to get into the second draft. Powerpuff Girls versus Forge Ice, and the first ban is going to be, are going to see in a second.
Yeah, they're probably going to take one of those power picks away. You do see the Grace come off the board. I would expect to see a Catherine come off the
You
board
don't really
here.
want to give the Cath away. Yep. And it is going to be the Cath ban, so very classic. And it's going to be interesting to see what they first pick over on Powerpuff Girls. They first pick the Idris. Does look like.
Once again, we see when team bans the Catherine, the Idris is very easily picked up.
Yeah.
He is one of the stronger laners out right now, but that Catherine will shut him down. So
as well as the glaive, though, as we saw in some earlier matches, it's going to be interesting to see how they pick. They are going to pick the lance, which I think is very, very good into Idris. Can lock him down, keep him immobile, and glaive potentially, or any laner can really burst him down, especially a CP Idris. Does look interesting there. Yeah. What do you think about an Adagio pick? How is that?
Lance Adagio, I would have rather see the Finn Adagio, but Lance can do well too. But I think Finn Adagio is a little bit stronger, and especially with Lance probably being the pick at that point, I think the Finn would have been a better pickup. But Lance Adagio can work really well because Lance is going to be right in the middle of everything, so that'll help you get that gift of fire off and that burn, even though that has been nerfed a little bit.
So very, very strong draft by them, I think, on Powerpuff Girls. It's going to be interesting to see what they go with on Forge. They're going to pick up the Black Feather, so it appears it's going to be the EP Idris. And
it definitely some interesting drafts here. I worry that we're going to see some of the struggles we saw in our last series where you have both Idris and Glaive who are kind of all over the place, and Finn who just is a stationary target.
Yes, it's very
And
true.
I wonder if Powerpuff Girls are going to be able to execute the way they need to keep everything centered around the Finn, or if Finn is just going to be trying to pull himself in too many directions to keep up with the Glaive afterburns and the Idris's shroud step and things of that nature. So,
Yep.
um,
Be an Idris lane and a Glaive jungle, which is interesting because you obviously can flex both either way. But
it looks like it's Glaive in the jungle. Looks how it's going to go.
and they are going
We
to take the backs together.
Yeah, we do see that Forged Ice picked up the Black Feather with their last pick. I think I would have preferred a Kroll on that last pick because Kroll would have played well into the Glaive, and a Kroll Lance frontline for an Adagio would just be very dangerous. I feel like
Yes.
the Black Feather might be a little too fragile in this
Yeah.
scenario, and Black Feather, especially with it being a weapon Black Feather, you have to dive, and you don't necessarily want to dive their comp. Had they have gone,
Yeah, the punishing.
yeah, had they had gone Kroll, they would have had an immense front line for this Adagio.
Pushing the lane actually very well. They are probably going to be able to rotate down and as a team take the tree on or contest it. Very good rotation actually coming out because Adagio does have the push with the burn on the heel.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, did Glaive steal that? No, the
No,
Black
it's gonna
Feather
go
picks
over
that
to the
up.
Black Feather. So
I thought the Afterburn picked that up for a minute, but that was a
yes,
very well executed rotation coming out of Forged Ice, which is nice to see because we had some questionable rotations out of both teams last
the
game.
Impale is gonna land, and both carries are gonna pop their potions as Adagio using the is gonna deal quite a bit of damage to the Idris. Though Idris having this extra sustain is gonna heal up for quite a bit longer. Already having picked up the light shield as well. Be careful. Adagio does have the heals, obviously, so sustain should not be a problem for him. Teams playing their comps already. That's their ability, but Adagio taking quite a bit of poke, and that is one of the questionable things about him, right? Is he's so slow. It is not the easiest to dodge the chakrams.
Yeah, the Adagio, and I personally would have rather seen the Swift Shooter and a pair of boots come out on the Adagio instead of the Crystal Bit.
Yep.
You're not getting a whole lot of damage out of that Crystal Bit to help you clear this lane, and the boots are going to help you do exactly what you said he's going to struggle with, which is dodge that chakram. And unfortunately for him, that's one of those abilities that you can't body block as the Lance. So,
and it will deal so much damage if it hits the Adagio. They are going to have to be very careful, but back them up in lane as we see Black Feather rotate down for the jungle, and interesting, a good rotation after pushing the lane, taking the backs together. Very, very good.
yeah. And surprisingly, even after that great rotation we saw come out of Forged Ice in the early game to push that first wave into the turret, they're really even in their farm right now.
And the afterburn comes out, the punting Adagio back, and the kill. Very interesting. That's going to be the first blood going over to Team Powerpuff Girls. With that first blood, though, Lance does take a lot of damage. Is it more beneficial to let the Idris get it with his items being so expensive if you're building into like the tension bow on the glaive? Letting the Idris get such a secure kill.
As long as it goes onto a carry, I'm fine with it. But yeah, they were in a situation where he could have put that on his carry had he thought about it. But sometimes in those situations, you're just trying to get the kill.
Just trying. You want to make sure nothing goes wrong, which is very safe as a little bit of trading going on in the jungle, an on-point landing for Black Feather.
So, yeah, as long as it didn't end up on the Finn, I'm okay with the way it went.
Yep. Very, very interesting. Adagio alone in lane, though. Interesting. Oh, Black Feather actually getting heart dodge stacks on the Finn. The Quibble is going to miss. On point lands yet again. Forces Finn's potion, though. Finn is just sitting there. Neither team has their fountain yet. Neither can buy it. Looks like Finn is going to go down and not be able to pick it up, though. Wow. He's not either, so below the amount of gold required for the fountain.
Yeah, and Slay God should be able to get it here right after he picks up the ambient from that treant. So they do have the fountain advantage right now. I don't know that it will last very long.
Yeah. Idris doing a very good job in lane of staying on top of his farm, whereas Adagio taking a lot of damage off of the chakram and being a bit behind in farm. Really has got to focus if he wants to keep this in. Though the impale does land, Githian Wall to push him back. The glaive is there, though. Blackfeather needs to be very careful. The Shimmer Strike comes out as Idris is taken low. Off.
Yeah, and there you see some of the benefit to using a Blackfeather in a situation like this with all of the CC, that even though he dove probably a little too deep for my taste on that, even if Glaive had tried to afterburn, he had the Rose Offensive to get through it. Yeah.
Yep, very, very safe playing. We are seeing Adagio being one of the harder laners, starting to take attacks on the amount of his farm, though. As Glaive does get caught out, Blackfeather is on him in the jungle. The afterburn toward the golden mine to get out. Both teams are going to back off. Adagio taking a lot of damage, though. Finn is too. Both have to be very, very careful. A single chakram can decimate the team as Adagio, once again, nearly half health after one ability. Up though now, and the Githian Wall, very good Githian Wall to stun him. Impale does go wide, though. They have to be very careful. Glaive already has the Sorrow Blade. A crit on that can just decimate Forge Ice. And oh, Adagio gets punted out of position, just stepping too far forward. That's another kill going over to Powerpuff Grillz.
And just as you say it, that one
after the chakram almost picks up the kill as Glaive rotates down to take jungle, dealing so much damage.
Yeah, and it's really that.
Oh, the afterburn over the wall, though. The Rose Offensive to leave. Stay alive. Barely. Adagio, though, in lane. Prepared to trade, though. The Quibble does pick up the Blackfeather. Bit of a mistrade. And Glaive is going to stay alive with this fountain. With his potions, excuse me. And now Lance extremely low. The Idris. Oh, Adagio has to be very careful about this turret right now.
Yeah, just they weren't able to take advantage of that.
He's going to be turret. The Impale misses. Lance very low. And Idris pick it up. He misses. Next.
Yeah, and Powerpuff Grillz coming out looking dominant there. There's been a couple of opportunities for Forged Ice in this match, but like I said, they just weren't able to take advantage of Glaive's overextension there.
So low off of the chakrams. He really has to be careful.
Yeah, and another thing to keep an eye on is, again, we see this Adagio with, he has a reflex block, but the Glaive afterburn is almost impossible to reflex block. But no armor and
gets deleted.
Yeah, that's what happens.
You got to be preemptively thinking about it, though. Good Githian Wall comes out. Minute just to keep them back, though. That is going to be the turret. Now, Blackfeather is getting a little caught out, but what is this Glaive's build doing? Is going Tenshimbo second really the right idea against such a squishy team with barely any armor?
I think he can go a few different ways, but yeah, if he's going to go the Tenshimbo, they're just going to
dominate. Yeah, though. Adagio dealing a lot of damage, taken extremely low by a chakram. And we sort of see one of the fall behind to this big gold gap is DJ Slime does not have a single tier 3 item. How is that going to negatively impact him in these team fights?
Oh, that's definitely going to negatively affect him. If he can't get a breaking point and some defense, there's no way that he's going to stand a chance going toe-to-toe with that Glaive. It's already going to be difficult enough, which is why I said I would have preferred a different, a brawler to go into the Glaive. But if he can't finish something here to give him some kind of sustain or some kind of ability to brawl, then it's just not going to be a contest.
Yeah, definitely. We are going to see him. Though it does look like he's building into the Sword Blade. He really needs to get that item sometime soon. As Adagio leaves lane, Blackfeather just taking what's left of his jungle.
Yeah, and another thing for people to pay attention to, we'll see if it continues to happen throughout this match, but Ricky has really been out of position. You really want that Lance to be your front line, and you really want to be getting that burn off. And in almost all situations, Ricky is just in front. And that's why they've been able to pick him off with that afterburn so much.
Gold mine just going over, solidifying the gold lead by another 1,000 plus. So it's going to be very, very rough. Blackfeather, though, almost completely caught out in jungle. Really needs to disengage. Uses the on point, though. Does seem like The afterburn actually is not going to come out. Big advantage. They aren't afraid to just face check and be aggressive. Knowing there isn't really anything they can do right now, though. Black Feather on point, barely staying alive. The afterburn landing on the Adagio. Adagio uses the shield, though. Deleted by the Chakram. Does not manage to get his Burst of Judgment off. And now it's just Lance left in the 1v2, trying to stay alive, trying to delay and run. But Idris is going to push the lane. Glaive's going to take farm, and they're just going to let Lance live. It's probably the smart play here if they can secure this turret. Is it really worth going after the Lance, Blade Green?
No, I think that they're doing being objective focused, and you see they're also taking the Crystal Sentry down there with Zephyrus.
Yeah, Glaive is soloing it, which is very, very good.
And you'll see some teams do that where they get caught out just trying to go for the ace. They either never get it, or by the time they do get it, everybody spawns. So either you miss out on the ace, or they're up a second later, so you lose out on a.
They're barely staying alive, deleted by Idris. Now they're pushing this fight. No more sentry. Idris with the double kill onto that Dodger. He's chasing the Lance. The Chakram goes wide, though. That would have been the kill if he had landed it. Perhaps expecting something or just a misclick. Chakram not landing once again, almost picking up the ace, barely missing it. But they are going to push lane and potentially get even a third turret already.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, this is supposed to be a sub, but Powerpuff Grillz look far more dominant this match than they did last match.
Damage coming out. The pull does not get blocked, and Idris deleting the whole team. Gets yet another double kill. Has to be very careful. The Chakram going wide once again. Just really needing to land those skill shots to get the ace that could potentially end this game.
Yeah, this game is so much different.
Oh, the Quibble just barely missing.
Oh, they just barely missed. Yeah, but this match is so much different than the last match we saw, where it was very close. This one is just completely lopsided.
Yeah,
I mean, no kills on the side of Forged Ice.
Dominance in the mechanics on the heroes. Definitely some comfort picks coming out for Powerpuff Grillz. Though Finn taken very low. This could be the first kill of the game going over. X has to be careful. Impale landing, just slowing him. Be very, very careful. He gives up the first kill of the game to Lance. Giving them quite the hefty bounty.
And that was a little greediness there from Lance. Especially when you're that far behind and there is nothing else that can happen. That kill needed to go to DJ Slime.
Out, deleting all of the carries. First of Judgment tries getting channeled, just gets destroyed. And yet another double kill for the Idris. He is going to secure the triple kill this time, dealing so much damage. 8 broken mist stacks, an infusion, a shatter, and an alternating thing.
Yeah, and they can choose to push here, but I would rather see them go down and take a Crystal Sentry, take a Gold Mine, because the death timers are just too small to try to push turrets right now. DJ Slime picks up the Sorrow Blade on his Black Feather, but I think Breaking Point may have been more advantageous here. And you saw in that last fight where he did almost get the kill on Finn, even though it was stolen by Slay God. Just as many hits that you're going to have to hit on this Finn and this Glaive.
Yeah.
The Breaking Point would really be better for you in those.
Though. They're on a 2v2, but Black Feather getting out sustained. The pull does get blocked, and now Adagio is there to help. Idris nowhere to be found, rotating through the jungle, though. On point landing, Quibble missing. This could be a chance, but no, the Afterburn comes out, deleting the Adagio. Adagio really needs to be careful. Gets deleted by the Glaive. Now Black Feather on the back line, running away with Lance. Lance trying to use the Githian wall to stun Idris, but not landing the Chakram and the empowered autos, destroying Lance. And yet again, they are just going to try to force the turret. Idris has to be careful. No defense, though. Glaive has the damage, and this could be game if they take down the second turret. Black Feather can't do anything, doesn't have the damage or the sustain. The fountain comes out. They complete the second Vayne turret. Adagio is up, though. Finn does go down. Idris on the Vayne crystal. Is he going to be able to finish it? Adagio picks up the Glaive, though. Idris on the Vayne crystal dodges the impale and finishes the game, and that's going to be game 2. Powerpuff Grillz, what a finale. What an ending.
Yes, that was an exciting ending, even though the match was exciting 18-3. But they made it exciting there at the end, wondering if they were going to be able to get that crystal there at the end. So
very impressive. Wow.
Yes, very impressive.
The second game being much more dominant than the first game.
Yeah, much more dominant, and they just weren't able to, and that's why the weapon Blackfeather was not my favorite pick here, because he was ever able to get onto the Idris. And if you look at the build, Idris has boots and then nothing but blue. And that's because
Right.
nobody was threatening him at
Yeah.
all. And you see, like, I feel like Ricky was in more danger from the glaive than from the Idris, but because of his positioning and not playing behind his front line, he
Yep.
prioritized Aegis because he was taking all of the crystal damage from the Idris. As where if he had been positioning properly behind the lance, behind the black feather, he could have went with the armor, which would have saved him a little more when Glaive managed to get back there.
I agree. But regardless, overall, good play and a very solid performance coming out of Powerpuff Girls, especially in the second game. So that is going to conclude
Absolutely,
it.
and that sub didn't hurt them at all. In fact,
Oh,
they looked more dominant in that second game
yep.
than in the first game. So,
Yeah. The second match of tonight, going 2-0s, both 2-0s. Powerpuff Girls taking Forge Ice out in the first week. Second match of the night. This is, of course, the North American Champions League, brought to you by Band and partnered with Vainsocial. I think that is going to be it for tonight. Make sure to check out all the social media, the Twitters, the Band, the YouTube. Lots of VODs go up on the YouTube if you want to watch back any of the incredible plays you've seen tonight or other nights. It will be up there. Wind it down for the night. Been good.
absolutely, it's been good. It was a blast being my first time casting a match with you. So,
As always.